Hello and welcome to our seventh edition of Taking It Further. And I thought today it might be helpful to just go through the very first stages of how you go about doing a word study. We've been recently started a new series at CBC looking at glimpses of Jesus and looking at different images from John's Gospel that talk about Jesus. And so far we've looked at the Word and we've looked at the light. And next week we're going to be looking at the bread. And one of the things I've said is that these images all have their roots in the Old Testament. And so it might be helpful to know how we go about searching the Old Testament for these images that John is talking about in the New Testament. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of ways using some free resources on the computer that will allow you to do this. Obviously in the days before the internet, you would need to have something called a concordance, which was a really thick book, which essentially listed every single, let's say you had the King James version, it listed every single word that existed in the King James version of the Bible. And so it would be arranged alphabetically, and you'd look up, say, the word light, and it would list out every single Bible reference of how that word was used in the Bible. And depending on the price you paid for your concordance and the thickness of your concordance and how thorough it was, it might even next to each reference just have a few words each side, so you can see the immediate context of where that word applies. We're not going to do that today. We're going to rely on the power of the internet and to speed things up for us. And so let's use that example of Jesus being the light of the world. And so we're going to use, first of all, we're going to start off in something called Bible Gateway. And so we would go and the address would be www.biblegateway, you can see it's come up there already, .com. And that takes us to a page that looks like this. And we're going to work in the New International Version, UK, so it's the English spellings. And suppose I want to look up the word light. I just simply type light in here. It gives me a few options. We'll just go with light. Click on search. And there we see that there are 263 results from the whole of the Bible on the word light. And we just come down to the Bible search results, and they're listed through in the order they appear in the Bible. Over here on the right hand side, I can see that there are 174 references in the Old Testament, and then each book of the Old Testament with the number of references next to it. Or I could come down to the 89 references in the New Testament. And so, I mean, we've been looking at John's Gospel. See, it's used, light appears 16 times in John's Gospel. Just click on that, and we then get the 16 occurrences of the word light in John's Gospel. Suppose I want to come to have a look at Matthew, because this is where we just know maybe you need to take things on to the next step. Obviously in John chapter, let's go back to John chapter 8 verse 12 was a verse that we talked about on Sunday. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." If we come back to Matthew and just come down just to show you, so using light in pretty much the way that we'd expect. Although when we come to Matthew chapter 11 and verse 30, we see another saying of Jesus, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Clearly a different use of the same word. And we need at this point to recognize that the Old Testament was mainly written in Hebrew. The New Testament was mainly written in Greek. None of it was written in English. And so we need to flag up that sometimes, as in the case here, different Greek words can be translated to one English word. And also we have plenty of examples throughout the Bible where a single Hebrew word can be translated into a number of different English words, and likewise a single Greek word in the New Testament could be translated into a number of different English words. So we might, if we were just searching on the English, we might miss out some occurrences because the English uses a different translation in different places for what is the same root word in either the Hebrew or the Greek. So let's look at a different resource, and so we're going to go to the Step Bible. So www.stepbible.org. That opens up to this particular screen here. Down the right hand side there's a basic welcome screen with some introductory explanations, which is helpful, but also really helpfully up here we've got these three little dots. If you click on those, you've got a guide and instructions, and you've also got video demonstrations, and so there's a number of videos which talk you through the basics of how to use the Step Bible. Just to give me some more space, I'm going to close this half of the screen. You'll see currently it's open at the ESV, which is the English Standard Version, and at Genesis chapter 1. You might think, well, let's change that to the NIV, which is the version we use at church. I would say don't do that, and the reason I would say don't do that is because you'll notice that in the ESV lots of these words are in blue, and if you point at a blue word, you see that at the bottom of the screen you get a very brief explanation of what that word is, what it is in the original language, and also what it means and how it's used in the Bible. And so there are lots of, and you also see that it's flagging up every time on the page when that same word is used. And so here we've got light, let there be light, and so immediately we can see that there's a number of places that that word is used. But if I was to do this, so if I was to click on ESV and change it to the NIV, turn off the ESV and do search, so same, none of those vocabulary links exist for the NIV version, so that's why I would encourage us to stick with the ESV. So let's get rid of Genesis chapter 1 and let's do a search on light. I've got a number of different coloured sections which initially might be a bit confusing, which is why I'd encourage you to use the guide to start with. But we've basically got Greek words in green, we've got some Hebrew words in blue, and then English words in yellow. So if I click on the English word light, we see, similar to Bible Gateway, we then get a list of all the verses in the Bible which contain the word light. Now, we were interested in initially in John's Gospel, so let's just look at John's Gospel. And so again we see that there are 16 results, as we were seen previously, light. And let's see a little bit more about how those words are used. So let's click on the word light and see that down the right hand side we get a brief summary. So it's the Greek word phos. It means light, daylight, firelight, occurs 72 times in the Bible, and some of those meanings and some of those uses are given underneath in the vocab section. If I was to just go back a stage and just have a look at, say, Matthew, just to pick up that verse we looked at from Matthew 11 verse 30, we see that my yoke is easy but my burden is light. But when we click on here, we see it's a totally different Greek word. It means not burdensome, which is what we'd expect from the context. So we're not interested in this particular word, we're interested in the word phos. So let's do a search on the word phos. Now I can either type in the English word and then come down to the green section, and that's the word I'm interested in, and I can click that, or I could have a stab at spelling it in the Greek and the same thing comes up. So here we have, now obviously the New Testament is in Greek, the Old Testament is in Hebrew. So here we've restricted to just the New Testament, and we see every occasion in the New Testament where this Greek word phos occurs. And so it wouldn't have Matthew 11 because that's a different Greek word, and so we're not looking that up. We might be interested in looking into the Old Testament and to see how the word is used, and we've seen how we could do an Old Testament search, just type in the word light and look through the Old Testament passages. But it's also another really good thing that I like about the Step Bible is that as well as English translations, we also have some ancient translations, and particularly this one we might find particularly helpful here. The Septuagint is, now obviously the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, but the Septuagint was a Greek translation of the Old Testament. And this would have been, for many of the people alive in the New Testament, those that could read, maybe they could understand or read Greek. They certainly, unless they were Jewish, they wouldn't be able to read Hebrew. And so the Old Testament was translated from Hebrew into Greek. And so many of the original readers of the New Testament, their only experience of the Old Testament was the Old Testament in Greek, which is this version here. So let's switch to that. We'll keep the ESV on so then I can have them both next to each other. And so now let's do a search on this word phos, light, as it occurs in the Septuagint. So the Old Testament, but the Greek version of the Old Testament. So we click on the question mark, and so here we go. So first one is Genesis chapter 1 verse 3, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So this is the Greek translation of that verse in Hebrew. And we could then look through, and we could go through verse by verse if we wanted to. Now, obviously there are 178 results here from the Old Testament, which would take us quite a long time to go through. But if we were digging back into the Old Testament, wanting to know, are there particular verses, are there particular references that John's got in mind when he talks about Jesus being the light, we can now work our way through these references to see all the occasions in the Old Testament where it's talking about light. Now that's just a very quick overview, maybe just enough to get you started if you're interested in doing a word study on a word in the Bible, where it occurs in the New Testament, where it occurs in the Old Testament, what it means, that sort of thing. If you've got any questions, why not stick them in the comments below this on YouTube, or get in touch. My email address is on the screen now, and maybe we will do a follow-on in a week or two's time.